everyone, I am back, and today we're talking about Mags Visaggio's tweets. So first, before we get into this, I do have to say there is some context behind how this whole conversation gotten started. Stuff that I haven't actually really covered on the channel, mostly just because bad timing. I've been busy, as you can imagine. I did talk about this briefly on one of my live streams, that Cameron Stewart was removed from DC Comics because it came out that he had dated teenagers in the past. And then of course this turned into a big thing about men in the comics industry, how they take advantage of women trying to take advantage of them. So then that started this from Scott Snyder, a comics pledge. So the idea behind this is he made a tweet with this picture of a pledge saying that you're not going to rape any women in the industry. The idea is he's taking this pledge to prove that he is a good guy. I'm a good person. You can trust me, women. And then he encourages people to retweet the comics pledge if they also agree that they are also good people who aren't going to rape any women. And if that sounds ridiculous, it's because it is. There's so many layers of stupid behind this. You can retweet a tweet and not actually mean what that tweet says. I know it's crazy. So basically this means nothing. He just wants to spread a tweet for what I can only assume is attention and virtue, that he is a good person and he helped spread the hashtag comics pledge because he wanted to fight for women. Men don't have to take a comics pledge just to not rape women. In a way, it kind of reminds me of the DARE program. They have you take the DARE pledge when you're kids in school, and it's basically just a pledge that you're never going to do drugs or alcohol. And I would probably say this is about as effective as the DARE pledge, which is not at all, and of course very condescending, that he's basically treating us all like kids in elementary school, that we have to sign this pledge so that we don't grow up to be rapists. Or I guess I'm not included because it's just for men. Then we get into the Mags tweets, and this is kind of in response to what had been happening with the comics pledge and Cameron being removed from DC. So I'll read the full context of her tweets because I think it's important to understand the full picture of what she's trying to say here. Last week was an absolutely crushing experience that finally taught me what it means to navigate the world as a woman. I finally internalized stuff I knew intellectually, the onslaught of seeing over and over men I know and respected as abusers by women I know and respect, including friends of mine on both sides of the abuse equation, really knocked me over. But what broke me was realizing the same playbook had been used on me! Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. These tweets are about her struggle as a woman. I don't want to get into a whole thing about what happened between me and Sean Murphy. I've covered that already elsewhere, and it's draining to recount. But while I need to categorically state that he never touched me, reading the accounts of others felt uncomfortably familiar. I'm not looking for comfort and sympathy, so please, no internet hugs or advice. I just want to talk about what happened to me this weekend. Again, Sean never ever touched me or intimidated he might do so. I am not accusing him of assault, but he did hook me and use me. You know, it is kind of similar to the Cameron case, because a lot of the girls who were coming out and like talking about him all of a sudden were saying, oh yeah, he never raped me or assaulted me or anything. We just dated while I was a teenager. And that's kind of creepy. So I guess Mags kind of figured, oh, even if men haven't touched me or abused me, they've still done a wrong and I can still get them fired. But getting back to her tweets. Everything from the unfulfilled promises of future professional and financial assistance to love bombing. It's important we get the full context here. Love bombing is an attempt to influence a person by demonstrations of attention and affection. Oh, so he was nice to you. What an asshole. All in the service of making sure I defend him when he did problematic shit. Yeah, I remember seeing tweets about this before, talking about how, oh, I can't believe I defended Sean Gordon Murphy and he went to Indiegogo to do his comic project. He was just being nice to take advantage of me defending him. You can defend whoever you want. If you feel as though someone who has been very kind to you and you want to defend them as a kind person because they've been so kind to you, that's your decision to do so. If you feel as though they are only being kind to you to get something in return, you don't have to do anything for them. That is also your decision to do so. I almost feel like Mags is blaming Sean for her defending him. Like she doesn't want to take responsibility for defending him and saying, oh yeah, Sean, he's a nice guy, we can trust him. She doesn't want to take any flack for saying that in the past. So she wants to turn it around and be like, oh, he was just taking advantage. He's the reason why I defended him. He was just taking advantage of me, acting kind. I'm really the victim in this, which is just silly. Just take responsibility for your actions. If you believe that you were wrong about him, just say, yeah, I mean, he was nice to me, but I guess I was wrong. There doesn't have to be some evil plot behind him being nice to you. As far as unfulfilled promises of future professional and financial assistance, I don't know what that's all about. It kind of sounds like you were trying to get something from him. Maybe that's why you were defending him in return, because you wanted something back. And you know, time and time again, I'll see this where there are women who are flirting with their bosses or coworkers or whoever just to get something in return, and then later they want to try to turn it around and blame it on them, like, oh no, he took advantage of me. I wasn't trying to take advantage of him. It was him. But I'm not trying to accuse her of anything. I don't know the full context behind that, but let's keep reading, shall we? All in the service of making sure I defend him when he did problematic shit, textbook stuff I've spent days thinking over and talking about with other women. He did it too. What scared me more than anything Sean did was how easily he did it to me. I wanted some of his shine, and he validated me during a period of intense career anxiety. I was not smarter than anyone else. I was not smart enough to see it. Wait, so you... Mags, you were being nice to him with another motive in mind. You're literally accusing him of what you were doing. So let's take the focus off of Sean, because that's not what matters here. Why did you name drop him? Why are you name dropping him first and last name so that everyone knows who he is if it's not about him? I mean, really, you might as well tag him in the post. You could have very easily, like, left his name out of this entire thread. You chose not to, and then you want to turn it around at the end and be like, it's not about Sean, though. Also, you didn't really accuse him of doing anything bad. Like, oh, he was nice to me, and he didn't give me stuff. He didn't give me a future professional and financial assistance. What, you want me to feel bad for you? Because you didn't get special treatment? Now, to be fair, if he did promise you something and he just didn't give it, if he looked you in the eyes and said, hey, I promise I'm going to give you $1,000 every month for 4 years, and he just doesn't do it, I can get why you would be a little bit upset. But if he's just being nice and saying, hey, if you ever need something, just come over to me and I'll be there for you, it's not really something to complain about. Anyway, continuing with these tweets. Let's take the focus off of Sean. That's not what matters here. It's the fear. The fear that someone else could be doing the same or worse to me. And I might never realize what's happening until it's happened. I'm pretty sure you'll realize it when somebody is raping you. I'm pretty sure it'll be very clear over and over in conversation with other women also dealing with the latest wave of exposures. There was a simple lesson. You need to protect yourself, and you do so by assuming every man you deal with is a potential abuser. Now, this is the part of the thread that I really hate, because you're basically inspiring women to be terrified of men. You're telling women the world is such a terrible place that you need to assume every single man you come into contact with wants to rape you or take advantage of you or do something evil to you. And I have to sympathize with the women who are looking up to Mags and reading these tweets and taking it verbatim. You know, it's not good to tell a bunch of girls that the world is an evil place and all these men are out to get you. You're increasing their depression because they think the world is just hopeless. And therefore, you're increasing the suicide rate because they're gonna have this contradiction. They wanna have a boyfriend, but now they're too scared that any boy that they like is going to try to rape them. It's terrible. It's terrible. This is a terrible tweet. Awful on so many levels. And what the craziest part about this is she's saying Sean didn't even abuse her! He didn't even do anything to her! But you're talking about the fear that he might do something to me. Well, it seems like your fear was irrational because he did nothing. And assuming every man that surrounds you is an abuser, completely irrational. That's not something that completely sane normal people do. That's something schizophrenics do. Also, aren't you a man? Alright, getting back to the tweets. I need to finish. But that one was a doozy. That's when I needed time to process over crying jag after crying jag. The ground shifted beneath me. I do not live in the world I thought I did, where I can give dudes the benefit of the doubts in advance. I mean, there's like times and places for things, obviously. If you're just walking around a shady street and some guy comes up to you like, hey, you wanna buy a necklace? Obviously, you shouldn't trust him, but there's a certain common sense to it. Most men are not abusers. I just want to get that out of here right away. If you think the majority of men are rapists, why would they ever make a law against raping? There's so much contradictions to this whole thing. Now, I do think most men want to have sex. I think that's something everyone can agree on. Most women want to have sex too. And I think that men are stronger to subjugate other people if they are in fact evil and want to do evil to them. But that doesn't mean that the majority of all men will do that. A lot of guys I know want a genuine relationship with a woman. And isn't that like the whole American dream? Have your own home, have a family? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the American dream isn't rape a bunch of women. So she signs off here at the bottom. That's it. I'm better now, much better now that I've had the time for that brute fact to settle in my heart. Excelsior. Yes, Stan Lee's sign off. That seems appropriate. So there you have it, guys. A bunch of tweets about how Sean Gordon Murphy did nothing to Mags Visaggio. What a great story about how she was victimized. And of course, one of the reasons I can only assume Mags is dropping Sean Gordon Murphy's name in this. There's a certain split in the comics community here over Sean Gordon Murphy because apparently he's been dog whistling Comicsgate by putting up his campaign on Indiegogo. So stupid. If you are actually being abused by someone, for the love of God, go to the police. So tell me down below what you think of these tweets, what's been going on in the comics community, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!